So I'm gonna turn the mic over to Ishan and Ibrahim, and you guys can just start off by introducing yourself right now.
All right, so my name is Ibrahim Badawiya. This is my second year in DECA.
My name's Ishan. This is my second year in DECA as well.
And what chapters and part of California are you guys from?
We're both from Martin Luther King High School, and we're from SoCal District.
Okay, very nice. So I guess then we can just kind of jump into the questions. And the first question is just gonna be, Ibrahim, you said it's your second year, so I guess you can start off. Tell us about your DECA journey, like just starting to fourth place
Yeah.
at ICDC.
So yeah, last year was my first, and Ishan actually has been like telling me to join DECA for a while now. And so recently I had to take a break from soccer because I got a knee surgery. So I just thought, you know what, this looks fun. So I was gonna check it out. And Ishan kind of persuaded me into joining DECA. So big thanks to him.
And Ishan?
Yeah, so my bad. It's actually my third year in DECA. So I was able to persuade him after my first year having experience. Mostly was going to the conferences, getting a feel for it. And my second year, I was really able to hone in my skills on what I learned to be able to make a project out of it, with Ibrahim being so kind to join me.
All right, cool. And since you guys started off in DECA, what led you specifically into financial literacy?
Well, actually, it was one of my partners and their original project named Isaac. So it was my first year, so I didn't know like how any of this worked really. And Isaac was telling me about his financial literacy project, and like his story really stood out to me because he was trying to like spread awareness for like financial literacy for lower income people, and that really spoke to me in a way because growing up, my family was also part of a lower income class. So I thought, you know what, I like the vision that he's trying to spread, so I wanted to really join because it looked very interesting.
Yeah, to add on to that, basically, from what we've seen from other financial literacy projects, is that they focus more on financial literacy for higher income people. How do you take $300,000 that you just have and invest that to make millions? Well, the 99% of people in America can't do that. And that's one of the main themes we focused on with our project, which is what I believe made us successful. When you have that theme, it's really easy to guide you into a certain subject of a certain written, in this case, FLP.
Okay. So kind of more, I know we went a little bit more forward, but kind of backtracking a little bit, right? So what kind of is FLP? So for our listeners who aren't very familiar with the Financial Literacy Project, give us kind of a breakdown of the event and kind of what exactly it means and what it is to compete in it.
Yeah. So financial literacy project is essentially it's a project management event. So you're supposed to set up a organization of some sorts where you will go around and in the simplest sense spread financial literacy. So you can do this through how we do that, like podcasts, mostly outreach in this case. This was PMFL in that case. So you go around, we do outreach stuff like making a podcast for one. We did some seminars at schools. We did some workshops, just teaching people with, again, our theme of financial literacy, which was focused in that specific sector of lower income. And then the main goal is finding different creative ways to get your message out as much as possible and have the biggest impact as much as possible within your theme, which is lower income financial literacy.
Yeah, and we're trying to teach high schoolers to manage their money because we know how important it is to manage your money long term. So we wanted to build healthy habits now to help build a more literate financial status for other kids.
All right, and taking the experience that you guys have in sort of FLP, what do you want to do with that experience or knowledge in the future?
Well, for me, I always love like giving back to the community and everything because I'm like a big community person. So I thought this project really helped me like build a connection with my community around. Like I connected with so many high schoolers in my school and other high schools. So in the future, I kind of want to continue to being like a role model for others to like show like, everyone can do it in a way. Like I didn't know what financial literacy was in the beginning of this project, and I learned so much from it, and I changed my lifestyle, and I wanted to kind of teach others that even if you don't have knowledge now, you can always change and build for the better.
Exactly. Those project management events, especially financial literacy, they get you to care about a topic so much that you'll put so much work into the organization to help your community around you, which is what I think is great about the project management events. What I want to do in the future is go into the STEM field. And from that, a lot of the part of the STEM field is leadership and financial literacy. And how do I get this job? How do I get a return on investment on my degree, right? A lot of these STEM degrees cost money. And financial literacy is a great way to start on how should I take this student loan at this time? Should I get a part-time job to pay it off so I can get a lower student loan, get a better interest rate? Simple stuff like that where high schoolers can learn these skills when they need it the most, especially when getting a degree in this day and age.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Now kind of let's move into the deck of questions again. So, FLP is a written event. There's a lot of preparation for it, but leading up to those conferences. So after you've submitted your plan and you're just working on your presentation at that point, what does your preparation schedule kind of look like? Whether it's, districts, states, or even ICDC, how are you getting ready to win?
Well, we actually use this project management skill app called Notion, and we kind of like scheduled what we wanted to do and everything. So that helped like a lot because in the beginning we weren't really like we kind of procrastinated, but as district and state and ICDC rolled around, we were like, okay, we need to take this more seriously. So we set up scheduled like times. Our school has this program called office hours where we have set times out of the day to like study. It's like 50 minutes long. So we would all go in one classroom and just practice our presentations, see which people are strongest in what subjects and what they know the most, and then just build off of that and just again practice so much we're like we basically know it like the back of our hand.
All right. Um, on the DECA website, FLB has examples such as organizing and implementing seminars for students like elementary, middle, and high school and post-secondary students, tax preparation assistance, retirement planning, and student loan workshops. Build on like what those things sort of mean to you and what you want to focus on and sort of examples of what that looks like.
So in one of our seminars that we did was during a mini con where we had a bunch of DECA students actually come to our school to prepare for district. So we actually hosted a workshop of our own, and we kind of told them the basic foundation of what financial literacy is. Because when we were doing our research, we actually found out a staggering amount of kids know very little or basically none financial literacy at all. So we needed to first set a foundation of knowledge for the people to understand. Then we would give them real world examples. So one of our examples was we had a grocery store. We gave them a set amount of money, and we had them pick certain items like eggs, milk, to see what could they be more successful buying and how can they use this balance that they gave them to be financial literate.
Yeah, to add on to that, one of these examples specifically was a sorry, one of these examples specifically was for an investment thing. So retirement planning. A kid that and well, if you do the math and you take the average around 7 to 10% return rate of the S&P 500, which is a very safe stock. Essentially, if you start investing $1 a day every day when you're 15, you'll beat out the guy that starts investing $100 a day at 40. So the main goal of that was to teach kids how starting early can really make or break your future. No matter what career you go in, no matter if you're a doctor or a plumber, no matter how much money you make on that scale, depending on how you treat your investments and how you can, like for example, the student loan thing, right? How you can maybe get a job to pay off some of that student loan earlier so you get a better interest rate, just stuff like that where it's really imperative. We wanted to really drill into these kids' heads that it's really imperative to start early with your retirement savings, start early with your investment acumen.
Okay, I'm guessing very smart. So listen, FLP, right? 20-page project. It's a super long written. without giving up all your secrets, how did you guys kind of break up those 20 pages and how did you utilize all that space to have such a strong performance?
Well, we just split up the work. Like we found what people's strong suits are and what people's not very so strong suits are. So like for me, I wasn't very good at, talking about our startup, but I was very good at talking about how social media was such a big role for us to help spread our word. So I was taking care of the social media aspect and we all just split the work, and then we would also just keep checking on one another, holding each other accountable, saying, "Hey, look, this is really good, but I suggest these changes." So it was really like all a team effort, not one person kind of holding the wheel. We all pitched in, and we all like just try to see where we could where we could help, and like we just separate the work by like our strongest suits. Like for Ishan, he's a very smart guy, so he handled the executive summary and helped us with the research and all that.
Yeah, and then Ibrahim, he's quite the presenter. You should have seen his third grade presentations. This guy would get the entire class really, really riled up with his. He's a really good marketer. That's why we had him do the social media parts, right? We had him do the hook of the presentation specifically. He knows how to get your audience in a hook, right? That's why you play to each other's strengths and you can split up off of that. When someone has an idea for something, you don't want to tell another person to write that idea for you, right? You want to have that person write that idea because they have the most clearest form of that idea. Of course, you can talk to other people to try refining that idea, but in the end, the person that comes up with the idea 9 times out of 10 has the clearest idea for it will end up writing the best portion of it. So a lot of it just comes from talking. If you're really passionate about the project, it'll come up in normal conversation where splitting up the work isn't the issue. You'll want to do this part, you'll want to do this part, and in the end, it will write itself essentially if you really care about your project.
Going off of like the presentation thing that Ishan was talking about, Ibrahim, can you share a little about like presentation tips, how to make your presentation engaging for your audience, and how you sort of engage with the judge as well?
Honestly, I like building a connection with my audience. So, you know, I assume that the person was very interested in PMFL and also interested in financial literacy. So I kind of played into that and everyone, honestly, everyone kind of goes at it too seriously. I kind of joke around a bit, which, isn't the smartest strategy, but in a way it builds a connection with your judge. Like I'm not going off selling like knock knock jokes or anything, but like I'm making educated, smart, like about the subject jokes where it kind of makes the audience engaged. You got to take into consideration that the judge probably has heard the same project like 6, 7 times. So you really want to have something that kind of separates you from the competition.
Yeah, on top of that, the fact that when you present something, you want to do it with, how do I say this? Like anecdotes, for examples. With anecdotes, you can bring up a situation and say, oh, well, when little Timmy here does X, 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 Y happens because of Z, Z, Z. That's just one formula of an anecdote you can use that really builds up that charisma with the judge. Half the game is charisma. I know your material does matter a lot, especially in the written part. But even when you're writing the written, not just presenting, but even when you're writing it, you want to write it in a way that is professional, but also that captures the reader. You don't want to make it a boring list of a summary. You want to put your personality into every part of your written. That's how you really show for the written.
Exactly. And you kind of want to build a theme of your presentation. So like for us, we understood like everyone had a specific goal, but we also wanted to take a turn on that goal. So we talked about our goal. We also created a theme where we connected with low income and kind of connected into real world examples. Like for the beginning of my presentation, I talked about kind of a backstory of my family. And then one of my other partners, he talked about his backstory. So it kind of gives the audience a connection to us as well of why we are so passionate about it.
Okay. Now, kind of shifting gears a little bit, post competition, you'll get feedback from your judges, you'll have your rubrics and all those kinds of things. So, how do you guys utilize it? Like when you're competing at districts and states, like whether you're looking at a judge's chicken scratch or whatever it is, how do you utilize that feedback to get better?
I mean, one of like my biggest things is that nothing is ever perfect. There's always something you could do to make it something better. So we'd always use feedback. Like me and Ishan, we'd constantly go to our advisors and ask them for opinions on this, what we should say in this part. Like the night before our state presentation, we were up at like 11:30, just running it with our advisors, and they'd be like, "Hey, you know what? You should include this," which helped us tremendously to help us get into ICDC. And then we used what the judges said at our presentation to help us even further perfect our presentations.
Exactly, because sometimes you might not understand exactly what a judge is saying by, like, let's say your problem statement, for example, your problem page, they gave you a 50% on that page. You really think you can help that, right? So from that, you can go join a talk with your teacher, right? And they can teach you about how to incorporate that certain difference, because these teachers are very similar to the judges you'll find. They'll have likely they'll have a much better idea of what they're saying compared to you. So that's why Ibrahim was saying about the advisors helping is a really big deal.
All right, just to interrupt in there really quick, we just wanted to give a welcome to Isaac Ramirez, who's joining us as well. He was a member of the team who got fourth place at ICDC for FPL. So thank you very much, Isaac, for joining us. And I'll let AJ take it away for asking some questions.
Okay, well, thanks again so much for joining, Isaac. So, to throw you into the questions, I guess the one I'll ask you is obviously, you seem to have a passion for finance and you're really interested to it, but to someone who's maybe, on the fence or they need some more convincing, what would you do to kind of get people excited about finance or to tell people that it's the right thing for them?
So honestly, if you're, how would I say, to get you excited about it, honestly, for me, it wasn't like Excel sheets. It wasn't like the actual, spreadsheets, all of that stuff. On to me, it's not the most attractive thing. Honestly, I view finance as the language of money. And if you want to accumulate and to take advantage of money, you need to understand it. If you don't understand it, someone else will understand it for you. And that's why I really believe that financial literacy was very important for most people to, or everybody to understand.
All right, going with that, how do you think you would address like sort of challenges in getting into it, challenges during the preparation process, etc.?
In preparation for what? Just getting into
Um,
finance or
like writing or written, even like during your presentation at ICDC, any like challenges you faced along the way?
so one of the challenges is definitely like let's say you have a team. I led I guess I was like the captain of the team or whatever. I led my team and a struggle is definitely getting everybody on the same page and getting everybody to do certain tasks. Just because you don't want to be overbearing or micromanaging, because these are potentially your friends. But also you need to make sure that things get done. So that's definitely one of the challenges that you have to be, I guess, careful about. Friendly reminders, I would say, would work. And also like a big thing now that I've actually done it is it's not that complicated. As in you don't have to have some elaborate thing. It's just putting in the hours. Talking to somebody who's also won previously, they said honestly it's just putting in the hours. I put in over 100 hours into the project easily.
Okay. Well, kind of bringing it back to all three of you guys now. Looking back, if you could do anything differently, what would you do to either improve the end result or change something about the way you did FLP?
Honestly, it was the procrastination. We did struggle with that a lot. So one thing we would work on is not procrastinate as much. I mean, life happens, but we do have to hold each other accountable. Like even for me myself, at some points in the project, couldn't hold my weight, and so I wish I was a better teammate sometimes and not procrastinate as much as I did.
Yeah, I would say that's a big issue. In so despite us getting, I guess, fourth at internationals, during at state, we got fourth, third place. And the reason for that was because I had procrastinated on the written project and I got docked, I believe, 10 points, easy points that we could have gotten for missed page numbers and I think the wrong date. And honestly, I believe we could have gotten first place. It's just paying attention to the details, you know, not procrastinating and paying attention to the details.
Ishan, you had anything to add?
Yeah, another thing would be don't be afraid to show your writing to advisors, to anyone you really know, because one of the people in the chapter last year actually got fourth place in PMBS. And me personally, I wish I would have showed the written to him since the beginning, a little, so we get a little more feedback on how it was supposed to go. Maybe we would have, with that, we would have been able to hold each other accountable even more often. Just all these things I say come together.
All right, looking a little into the future here, what do you guys plan to do this year, DECA wise, FLP wise? Do you guys want to sort of continue this? How's this year looking for you guys?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have an amazing teammate like Isaac with us because he graduated sadly. But Ishan already kind of put in some work over the summer, and like he went into a STEM camp and kind of talked about financial literacy and all of that. So we already have our small building blocks on the way. We want to continue with the podcast and continue with things, but we also want to put it in a bigger picture. Talk to more people and kind of spread our message farther than our small city, and to see if we can spread it throughout multiple cities and multiple districts and see if we can really spread our message.
I mean, yeah, like even more specifically, like our Instagram, I want to take a little more advantage of that. Contacting many other financial literacy institutions, business institutions, investment institutions, just clubs like that that have students around our age where we can set up possibly events together, talks like this together, where we're telling kids about financial literacy, getting them prepared at a very young age. Just expanding our organization past our city seems to be our main goal right now. And with the STEM camp thing, the thing I did was in Rialto, which is about 40 minutes from where we live in another county. So I believe that was a good start to do over the summer.
Well, big plans, big people to accomplish it. But so now what we're going to do is we are kind of going to turn over the floor to you guys a little bit in case there was anything you want to talk about that we weren't able to cover. And to all the participants, if you guys would like to drop any questions you have in the chat or DM them to either me or Ella, we can direct them to them and you guys can kind of help us wrap up here.
So I just like to drop one piece of advice is don't never be afraid of taking risks. I mean, me and Isaac, we talked to so many people. Like Isaac reached out to so many people for podcasts and we never heard back. We reached to so many different people who were in financial literacy and never heard back. And all it takes is one. Me and Isaac were able to land one podcast with this incredible guy who used to be an investment banker. So don't be afraid to take risks. That's all I could say. And enjoy the project. You don't want to be stuck with something that you find as a chore. Make it a passion in your life.
And just in case you guys didn't see, I got one question for you. It's kind of like super basic, like just how do you even get started? Like what's that first step you take? Because it can feel super overwhelming. So like what should they do to kind of get started just in general for a lot of these project management events?
For that, honestly, I would say in the beginning, at least, what are you interested in? Like pick your general area, and then from there, do you? There's a saying it's called like try things and fail fast. So try a bunch of things. If you don't like it, if you do, you have a couple months to spare yourself because honestly, our project, it didn't like really start until like September, August, and I know some people start as soon as internationals is over. So you have a couple of months to give yourself time, but biggest thing is just break it down as much as you can. For me, we like I started like with the podcast, the Money Mindfulness podcast. I started it with like a phone and a mic that I had already, and I used my laptop to record, and I did that in my garage. It's nothing crazy, Um, using resources that you already have, like Canva. There's a school resource that we used. Just use what you have already. Be as resourceful as possible, and break things down as much as you can. And genuinely, like you can do it. I was the only, like nobody necessarily thought that I was going to even make it to internationals like that. Like no shade or anything to anybody from my chapter. It's just that like I hadn't shown evidence that I could do something like that, right? I was more of the social type. I wasn't necessarily as serious in competition, but I turned that 180 and I tried and I really gave it my all and look where I ended up. So genuinely you can no matter what your background is.
And find people who are passionate as you. Like when Isaac told me his story, I was immediately inspired and I just immediately wanted to jump on the project and create a change. So find people with a similar mindset as you and don't be afraid. It's either a yes or a no when you're really doing stuff. There's no shortcuts around it. Either you do it or you don't. If you ask a person, they're either going to say yes or no. So don't be afraid. All you need is a couple people to say yes. So just put your message out there and see what happens.
Yeah. Again, I just like to reiterate so much that you would have to the main thing is passion. You have to find the topic that you're passionate about. There's multiple project management events, community awareness, community giving. If you find one topic that fits into one of these categories that you are really passionate about, it writes itself genuinely. The written will write itself, the activities will write itself. If you find people to help you with it, you'll go to ICDC. I guarantee you. Genuinely, if you like your project, you'll go to ICDC. It's just how much work you put. It doesn't feel like work in the end. If you really like your project, if you really have a goal in the end, especially in project management, you're literally creating an organization. It's like creating a baby. You're creating a baby that you've made, that you're passionate about having, you're passionate about facilitating, right? You want to make sure it grows into something that is maybe even statewide, which is what we're trying to do this year, right? And me and Ibrahim are seniors now. We could, like in all fairness, project what is it? The financial literacy event at state doesn't have too many competitors, and 4 people move on. We could easily coast along and likely make it to ICDC if we just kind of did the same things here or there, right? Because it was already a really good project. But the fact that we want to do more shows that passion can really elevate your project to the next level. Don't just go all in on one thing, that the first thing you see, and then you're just like, okay, I guess I have to do this one now. Just go through those iterations of what you want to do, and you will find something you're passionate about if you really want to do these writtens, and then the written will write itself, genuinely.
All right, great advice, Ishan, Ibrahim, Isaac. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. It was great to hear from some SoCal talent, and thank you all participants for being here today. It was great being able to share their experience with you guys.
Thank you all very much for attending, and that'll be it for today's Champ Camp.